Hey, it's Monday, and I'm back. Still have my melt banana shirt on. Did I have this on yesterday? I don't remember now. Something very nice happened yesterday. It's the 11th of June, by the way. Yesterday evening, I stopped into Homer's, not Homer's, but a Walgreens right quick. And a complete stranger was waiting in line. I walked past to go to do my thing. This person gets out of line and comes up to me and asks me if are you Dereck Higgins? I say, yeah. And he says, well, he watches me here on YouTube. And he thanked me for what I do. Well, thank you, young man. Those things honor me, and these things happen fairly regular in different ways, and have for a long time in my life, and that's why I just carry on with my life, following my path, and then encourage others to do so, because nobody else knows what you're supposed to do. And usually the people that are trying to tell others what to do are clueless themselves. So pay attention to that. I will talk a little bit about music because while I was at the Summer Arts Festival, I did stop into Drastic Plastic, and I did buy a couple of records. And I'm being cautious. Because it seems like every time, okay, I'm in a clear and I can buy a couple things, and then something happens where it's like, oh, need money for that. I'm not going to worry about it right now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, let me enjoy this moment and let me share it with you. Okay, there were a bunch of records that, just for the sake of being a record collector nerd, I would have loved to have bought. Not that I need any of them. So one of the things that I did pick up that I've been wanting is Disco Inferno. Is a group or a thing that was led by, I think his name was Ian Krauss. It's happening back in the 90s or the 2000s. Disco Inferno. Very interesting blend of a sound. Electronic and punk is the best way I can describe it, but an ambient, but really unique. It didn't catch on, but it was really good. It's all coming out on vinyl now. I didn't realize how many records I have. I have maybe one or two of the CD EPs, but Technicolor, I grabbed this. Now I have been so busy, I haven't even been able to do a proper needle drop on this. I did an initial needle drop, and sure enough, this is that cool sound, almost maybe possibly a precursor to My Bloody Valentine in some ways. You heard it here first. So I picked this up, Disco Inferno. When I grabbed this, I saw they had like 3 other titles on vinyl now, which I didn't. That's great. I'd love to have them all. The thing that was in the store that I wasn't expecting to see, didn't know it was out, honestly. Had to buy it. Universe Zero. This is their second album, Heresy. As it turns out, this is a remixed version of it. It was the story of the remix is here in detail, and it took a month to do because they had to bake the original tape. Something that I learned about years in my professional work in music, that old tapes, you just can't get an old tape that's been sitting for a long time and just reel it up and spin it. You have to bake them so that the stuff binds, stuff, you know, that magnetism over time, it fails. So it was quite a process to first transfer the music and then remix it, and boy, does it make a difference. I have the original mix on CD, Universe Zero. It also comes in a beautiful orange and gold vinyl. can see those streaks there. And this is one where the remix really makes a difference. Daniel Dennis, the drummer, is a dynamic drummer with a very interesting style. The way he tunes his drums is unique. He has a big bass drum sound, and on the original, they didn't capture it. It's fixed on this. This is dark, brooding, chamber-like music. Very powerful, unique unto itself. Another band that I relate to them but doesn't sound like them is Art Zoid. They have shared members as well as done shows together. I highly recommend this music for the adventurous listener, or people who like classical music, or people who like it dark, or just people who have open ears. Universe Zero, Heresy. I was real happy to get it. So I got those two records. I was over at Hugo's last night, my art friend who's getting into music now. I'm still giving Hugo a hard time because he is, his mind, his ears, he's not a real active listener. And Hugo, if you see this, you know, you won't dispute it, it's true. So it's usually the most popular sound going that attracts him. I'm saying this because he had recently either bought or was given some records, and among those records was this, an old album from the 70s, Country Funk. Now, this is one of those records I never personally wanted, but when this came out, Polydor, one of the oldest record labels on the planet, at a time they were just putting out everything. It's like they were just throwing money everywhere on the planet, on the planet, literally. And so consequently, I got to the point where it's like, well, I'd like to find out almost what everything that looks somewhat interesting on Polydor, what it sounds like. So I'd never heard this album, but I was intrigued by the name Country Funk. I could pretty much tell by the look of the dudes that the music is going to be country and not funky, and indeed that's what it is. So anyway, this was at Hugo's, and I just told him, Hugo, just give this to me. You're not going to listen to this ever. And he was kind of hemming and hawing. Well, a young lady came by. Hugo has women problems. We tease. He's a woman magnet. But this photographer, friend of his, who's a very good photographer, a beautiful woman, stops by, really into music. And we're talking, and I have this laying in front of me, and she became intrigued by the title. It says Country Funk. Well, that doesn't even make sense. And I said, well, it isn't funky. But she said, well, we just can't talk about this. You've got to play this. And I said, this is my kind of person. You know, you want to, you know, let's listen to some music. So sure enough, I put it on, and we're talking and visiting, and some other people come by, and hadn't got through 2 songs, and Hugo goes in and takes it off, you know. I say, yeah, this record is mine, Hugo. You know, and it was pretty decent. It is country rock. Nothing earth-shattering at all. But the people here, one of these guys ended up working in the music business and did some work on some records that I really like, unrelated to country. Just thought I'd show this because it's another in the collection that I picked up here. Anita gave me this Cadaver album, and of the albums she recently gave me, this one is taking the longest to settle in. I like certain types of rock, hard rock, metal and stuff, and I gotta give this one more time. My initial reaction to their sound is not real positive. And Anita, you're a friend, so I know that you're cool with me being honest, but listen to what I said. I have to listen to it again. Okay, a little more. I was listening and noticing in the media, the mainstream media, how they tend to go on about things until the next big story. So right now they're doing the overkill on the Bourdain. I keep forgetting her name. Someone told me, I forget. Suicides. What I don't like about the mainstream media is their whole point is to sensationalize everything, looking for headlines and trying to manufacture trends where there are none, showing absolutely no concern about the real issue, which is the value of human lives, and is there possibly anything we can learn from these incidents? Not at all, just sensationalizing. Oh, is there a... I forget what they, they try to coin phrases, kind of like the Me Too, and speaking of that, what happened to that? Speaking of that, what happened to our big concern about our children and guns in schools? What happened to that? Everything just, it's like I was talking to a young friend of mine who, actually John Oxner, who is really the person running Hi-Fi House for Kate. Young man, good musician. And he's in his 20s still, and he was saying, I love his observations, he's a smart kid. He said, technology has kind of forced adults my age into a delayed, or rather a prolonged adolescence, where it's harder for us to move into maturity because we are constantly being bombarded by shit and choices and stuff and shit that we got to do now, And it's like, it's like everything is constantly moving and everything is so shallow and surface. No wonder we can't make better, greater sense of things, because it's constantly this constant sea of shit moving that we are compelled to be a part of. We almost have no choice. My phone is all busted up here, because I've dropped it so many times, but I avoided having a cell phone for as long as possible. I didn't want one, And now it's like you're screwed if you don't have one, I mean, in many ways. I still remember before we had computers, and now it's like the world acts like we always had computers, The one thing that I will always try to do in my videos when it comes to mind is to just bring up things that strike me as, okay, don't forget, Dereck, don't fall asleep, try to be awake, try to be conscious, don't be one of the mindless zombies that society has created. Don't be a mindless consuming zombie. It's a shared responsibility, but I do blame society, I do blame the government, I do blame people with money, because they have been doing nefarious things to the population that can be proven. And even when you show the proof, like how they fucked with the water and all sorts of other stuff, people will just go in denial. Oh, they would never do that. Oh, that's not happening. That's crazy. And that's how they get away with it, because people think it's crazy they'd never do it, so they do it more. And look at the state we're in. You try to tell people stuff, and it's like they'll go into shock for a second. It's like, really? And then it's like blank. Whatever's happened is working really well, but I'm telling you, I'm here as one who's saying, hey folks, it ain't cool. Wake up. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Listen to your music. Do what you like, but come on, people. It's like, even though it's I like to talk about these things. Even though we are on a natural course of things, the end of an empire. We're at the end of the Western Empire. And what's going to happen is that it will crash and burn, and then the next one will rise, however long that takes. But that doesn't mean that we don't make an effort to try and save ourselves, or to try to make things better around us. That's the whole gist of these comments and my mindset. I also say this to my white friends. If I had white skin, I would probably be able to not think about these things at all, because of white privilege, because of the way that colonialism has set the world up in favor of white people, rich white people. I mean, rich people in general. This is not a racist comment, okay? you dummies that don't understand, don't get all upset and think something stupid. This is not a racist comment. This is a comment about reality, about history, okay? And so as long as things are advantageous to the white race, which they still are, we cannot expect realistic solutions for the entire planet. I just bring these things up because it's better the more people who are aware or thinking about these things. You might not come to the same conclusions as me, but become aware, you know. Snap out of it. What was that movie that Cher was in where she slapped somebody and told him to snap out of it? I don't know why I've always liked that scene. That doesn't work a lot of times, but sometimes it does, to get a good bitch slap and wake the fuck up. Done with love, of course.